Welcome to the No Guilt Fangirls Podcast, where liking what you like is never a bad thing. Here's your host and head fangirl in charge, Patty Holiday.
Hey y'all, welcome to the No Guilt Fangirls Podcast. I'm your host and head fangirl in charge, Patty Holiday. Schitt's Creek, guys, Schitt's Creek. We are really for real this time, Jamie. We're for real. We're in the home stretch.
That's right.
Okay, all right. After this episode, we only have 2 left, and it sounds like it's a double episode for the finale, and I don't know if my heart can take this for a variety of reasons, of which we will get to in a few minutes. But if you guys are new around here, we are recapping and discussing the final season of Schitt's Creek. This is season 6, and there are 14 episodes. And last night we watched what was that, 11?
12.
No, 12. It was 12.
Yep.
We watched number 12. And number 12 was called The Pitch. So we are going to recap it and discuss our feelings about this one and go through the whole thing. This is obviously, very obviously, at least I feel like it's obvious, spoiler-filled episode. So if you are not here for spoilers, if you haven't watched season 6 yet, I get it, bop on out. If you do want to watch it, I have a list of how and where you can find season 6. Hint, the easiest option is Amazon. You can go there and you can purchase the entire season, and it'll be open for you the next morning. The new episode comes out every Tuesday for those of us that have Pop TV, and then you'll get it as an Amazon subscriber the next day. So if you have listened or you're catching up, then please also catch up with us. Go back and listen to all these episodes and discuss our journey. We love this journey for us. It's been a journey, Jamie.
So amazing.
This is my friend Jamie, and Jamie is going to do what she always does for us, which is give a rundown, and then we'll discuss as we are talking about this episode, our thoughts on what happened last night. All right, Jamie, go. This is The Pitch.
Okay, so we start by waiting outside the motel for Roland to get there so we can go to New York for the pitch. The whole family's there, and Roland pulls up looking dapper in Johnny's suit, and they are off in a private jet to New York.
And that was the cutest scene. They had like signs and stuff. The family members were like, "Go Team Rosebud," or whatever, as they were waiting to send them off on their big adventure, their big trip.
It was really cute. And then we got our first scene of Schitt's Creek not in Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
Which was kind of strange.
That's good point. Good point.
So they were in New York, and they met with Ruth, who was actually Mike's associate, and which kind of shook Johnny a little bit. But then they were there for their meeting.
Basically, she says that Mike's not going to be there, and Johnny was taken back by that and didn't see it as a good sign. I think he kind of felt like he was already being dismissed or pushed back immediately, because he was like, "Oh, well, we could wait until he is here." Like he thought that could be helpful for him to have that guy there for that meeting, and he wasn't wrong. So yeah, they go into their meeting.
Yep, and then we cut back to Schitt's Creek, and Moira is doing some, I'm using air quotes, reorganizing, but really she's packing,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of answers a question you and I have been talking about. How is Moira feeling about this? She is ready to go. So she is packing, and then we heard something that I think was a big foreshadowing, was that Interflix wanted a meeting with Alexis to continue their relationship, which is very exciting to me, as maybe a sign for Alexis's future. And then Alexis and David talk about moving to New York, which is, they get so excited so quickly, and it's adorable. And there's the best gif of Alexis flicking her hair over her shoulder about 18 times. Um, and then we go back to the presentation, and it does not start well at all. The Stevie's really Johnny starts out strong, and there's some young corporate hotshots. I'm using that word loosely, that are pretty mean to Johnny. Make real snide remarks and are just kind of jerks. And Stevie's rattled, and the technology isn't going as planned, so things are starting rough.
And Roland is just kind of a hot mess. He is definitely a fish out of Schitt's Creek.
Yes,
he doesn't know. I mean, he's trying, but he doesn't know how to act or how to respond or whatever. So he's definitely kind of throwing off everything. I thought Stevie was hanging in there pretty well, but she definitely was, not comfortable in what was going on. But Johnny, you got to see a little bit of the Johnny Rose that I don't know, I envisioned as this, man who was a self-made businessman and whatever. It was very cool to see him in the New York setting, and to see what he was. But at the same time, we're going to talk about the presentation, I'm sure, but I love the presentation because it was also very much a character development where you can tell that Schitt's Creek means something to him, and his time there has meant something to him and has changed him.
yes, yeah, absolutely. He's not only shining as a businessman, but you can tell it's coming from the heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Back to Schitt's Creek. There's a farewell party going on at town hall, and Moira walks in with the most ginormous bow, which was actually from the Christmas episode. And she thinks the party is for her. So we're kind of back into Moira being very much Moira from the early days, just kind of all about her, and she's ready to roll. And it wasn't for her. It was for Grace. And Grace was there, and Moira kept not knowing Grace was there, but
Well, that was that was also the kind of the telling thing here, is that as much as I was like, oh, my Moira's changed so much and she's come so far, she was real quick to slip right back to her old ways where she was so dismissive. She didn't know who anybody was in that room, but
yeah,
she's been living there for 3 years. She should know. And so I was like, I see what they're doing. I don't like it. I liked that in Moira in the beginning, but she's come so
right,
far.
yep,
I didn't like that little slip back, from her, but um, yeah, I'm hoping that was just a temporary, excitement type of
right,
thing. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully not. And then go to the apothecary. David walks in with half of a muffin for Patrick, and Patrick asks him what he's so excited about. And again, I got to glance back to the old David, and I didn't really love it because David was just like, the family's moving back to New York, and this is so exciting, and blah, blah, blah. And Patrick was like, well, I'm surprised that you're so excited that your family's moving back to New York. And David's like, oh no, Alexis has already found us an apartment, and we're going to go to the revival of 12 Angry Men with with all women, and Kerry Washington being the lead. Patrick, you could just see his face was like, what do you mean? We're what what do you mean we're moving to New York? We have our business here. We have our life here. And
Yeah, I think it was the moment that we all realized that somewhere, someplace, obviously, the Rose family was still not all in. They didn't see themselves as staying there for forever or whatever. And that took Patrick by surprise.
yes,
He definitely thought this was, I don't know, an expectation or a done deal. Of course they were staying there. Like he says, we have our business here. And to Patrick's credit, he didn't make a huge thing of it at the moment, but it's written all over his face.
yeah. Yeah, and as you and I as married women know, you don't just kind of make a big life decision like that in a vacuum. So, I was like, "Oh no, David, don't do that." But yeah, so then we go back to the boardroom, and Johnny's a little rattled, and they're all just kind of a little bit nervous. And they go back in and start making their presentation. And like you said, this is where we really see Johnny shine. And he really speaks passionately and logically. As a person who works in finance, I was like, yeah, those numbers make sense. Um, talked about the project, and I thought did a really great job.
The pitch, the speech was equal parts, heartfelt and that get you sucked in, kind of get you. And I thought he almost got him. I thought, I thought he was there. But at the same time, like you said, logical, and it made sense. This isn't something, as he even said, I'm not here for a handout. I'm here for a business opportunity,
Yep.
and he laid it all out there. And yeah, I thought it was well done and should have made somebody in that room dun 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 pay attention. And plus it had some of the sweetest, just lines of where he's come from and where he is now. It was a journey, and it was a journey he doesn't regret, and it's not a journey that he would give up. And it's just and it was just such a good scene. He was so impressive as Johnny Rose. Eugene Levy was so great in this one, just so good.
Yes. And Stevie, did a really great job of kind of finding her voice as well and being able to speak up and give her part of the presentation as well. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then they go back downstairs, and they're all so excited, um, and Roland realizes he had forgotten his empty briefcase back up in the room, or so he goes back up and here's these business people all laughing at Johnny and making fun of him, and it's just heartbreaking to hear them talk about our beloved Johnny that way, and also just seeing Roland's face, knowing that they all needed it, and I kind of feel like he kind of looks at Johnny as a hero kind of as well. So it was just really, really sad. So then he goes back downstairs, or
Oh,
actually, I'm
but no,
sorry.
no, no,
Yep.
wait. Yeah, we got to talk about what actually happens. So, as we've mentioned before, and I swear I'm going to sit down and put a whole list together of all of these Easter eggs, but there's been a lot of callbacks. And you mentioned like Maura's bow from the Christmas episode. There's been a lot of callbacks in season 6 to the previous seasons, which is just this little sweet love letter for fans to pick up and grab onto. This was one of the best callbacks to one of the best moments of all of Schitt's Creek, in my opinion. Roland goes in, he hears what they're saying, he knows what this means, and he knows they're being dismissed. And not only that, they're belittling and making fun of Johnny Rose. And Roland, if you remember, think how far he has come in his character development, particularly in how he feels about the Rose family. And in those very first episodes, they were very much at odds and very much did not get along at all. And now here he is, not only a business partner but a good friend to to the Rose family. He stands up for Johnny in such a sweet and fabulous way, where he basically says he's a legend, and do you know what it took for him to come in here and do this? And you guys basically should be so lucky to be in business with a man like him. And he just kind of lets him have it. And it just reminded me so much of that scene where Moira and Johnny are out to dinner with their little fake friends from back in the day.
Yes.
And Roland and Jocelyn show up. And Johnny, at that time, this was, I think, the last episode of season 2, right?
Yep. I think
And
so.
and Johnny speaks up and says, these people are our friends and they are good people, and we are honored to have them here. And they've done more for our family than you guys have ever done. And he gives his speech about friendship, essentially on Roland's behalf, kind of standing up for when Roland was being belittled. And anyway, I just liked that there was this very bookended thing. Plus, I have to admit, I don't love Roland's character all that much. However, Chris Elliott's an amazing actor. And I did feel like this season he wasn't getting a whole lot to work with. So I was cheering. I was like, we got our Roland moment. Roland got his moment. I was super excited to see that. So yeah, that was good. That was good. So anyway, Roland leaves the meeting for the second time with his empty briefcase and comes down and basically tells everybody, yeah, it's over. Let's go.
Yeah. And Johnny's like, wait, hold on. What happened? What's going on? And then Ruth, I'm sorry, comes rushing downstairs and was like, hey, it's a no from everybody. I just wanted you to know. And Johnny is like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Completely dumbfounded. And she's like, look, I shouldn't tell you this, but we are leaving this company in a month, and you're exactly what we're looking for our new startup.
Yeah, she's starting her own business, and she's basically like, I want you to be one of our clients. Like she's jumping all over it because she's not stupid.
Yep. That's right. And so she's like, we want to take you out to lunch and, talk about it. And Johnny kind of feels conflicted because he got the shot from his old friend from back in the day, and he wants to remain loyal. But he listens to his business partners, Stevie and Roland, and agrees to go to lunch with Ruth and listen to this new pitch. So then we come back to everybody waiting in front of the motel, in their chairs, which I was like, they never sit on those chairs in front of the motel, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, one more thing. I wanted to go back on the pitch where he showed that he said, my family's been living in the motel for 3 years, and he shows the picture of them standing in front of the Rosebud Motel. And I saw on Twitter, people are like, this is the new picture to replace that giant monstrosity that they destroyed or left out for the trash. And, looking at the two pictures, I'll retweet them. It's their faces. They look so happy and like a family in this newer picture.
Oh, for sure.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So then, it's so sweet because everybody waiting is holding hands and they're so excited to hear the news. And Johnny gets out of the limo and gives just the most subtle of nods, saying, yes, it's a deal. And everybody just runs and seeing Dan Levy run to David, played by Dan Levy, run to Stevie, and his face looking at his best friend was just gorgeous.
Oh, it was so sweet. And then not only that, it was like, I loved it. He's like, so what? Like, you're a businesswoman now. And she's like, damn right I am. I loved it. I was like, oh, Stevie. Yeah.
Yep.
Especially since she was flailing so hard at the beginning of this season. And it was nice to see her kind of settle in and she's good. This is where her future is. And it could be a really fantastic future. Like, of course, I'm jumping ahead and I'm like, there's Rosebud motels all across the nation because that's real life. But but I did love to see that. That was awesome. Yeah. So of course Moira jumps up and she's so proud of her husband. She's so excited. Oh, we missed the whole prayer circle. Okay. This was hilarious. This was this moment where Moira is this is where she proves how much she truly cares. Cause I believe she was truly giving her prayers to who it may concern on Johnny's behalf, not on her own behalf. Like, I
Right.
don't think she
Yes.
was, I think in that moment, she truly was like anxious and concerned and worried about her husband and wanting him to have a positive outcome and wanting him just to succeed, just period to succeed, because he needed to have a success, right?
Yes. Yep.
I didn't feel like she was doing this for herself, even though she's so much of Moira is about herself. I really feel like that also just proves how much she just loves this man and how she just was so crazy for him. It's hilarious because she's like, kids, come here. We need to send vibes out, or we need to whatever. And David, are we praying? Moira says, don't be ridiculous. But they do. They hold hands and they kneel, and David and Alexis are just like, what is going on? And they kneel and they hold hands and they just kind of, send up this intercession of, to whom it may concern, please take care of Johnny Rose. And it's very sweet. It was just a very super sweet moment. Through all of this, Alexis and David are glowing and they're happy. They see this future as being changed, but obviously we all know David and Patrick, there's some storms brewing because Patrick did not take to this really quickly. And so at that very end scene, when the news is announced that this deal has been made and everybody's so excited and hugging and everything, you see Patrick so completely conflicted.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it was subtle, but not subtle. Like, it was obvious, but at the same time, I think Noah Reid did a really great job. He was excited and he hugged David, and then he pushed him over to go see Stevie, to get her in, and he hung back, and he couldn't jump in and jump up and down for joy with them, even though he obviously was proud of them and excited, but he was already thinking ahead to what that meant for him.
Right. Because
and sure enough, right at the very last scene was all of them hugging together, and we kind of get the shot directly on Patrick's face. And I was like, oh, Patrick.
Yes, because life with David in New York City is bound to be very different than life with David in Schitt's Creek.
I hadn't even thought about it from that point of view, but you are exactly right. Like, that would be an insecurity issue for Patrick.
Yes.
He met David here and knows him as this David, where yes, he knows that he had all that kind of life or whatever, but he never expected to be part of it or thrown into it. And I guess that he's probably already, plussing ahead to say that might be what it would look like. And what does that mean for us? And would we still have the relationship that we have if we're not having it here? And I think that's absolutely what he's thinking and what he's going through. And guys, I think Noah Reid had like 4 lines the entire episode, but we got all of that out of the entire, that is how great the show is written and how beautifully shot it was, because we picked up on all kinds of stuff going on in these moments that with very little dialogue. And so that's where we ended. That's how it all ended, was right there.
Yeah, so now we go into the 2-part finale. So I guess technically speaking, you were right, Patty. This season was 12 episodes and the finale is just 2.
See, I knew what I was talking about.
Yep.
I didn't look ahead. Do you know, is the finale each half-hour episodes, or are we getting like 2 1-hour finales?
I don't know, because I can't. I'm like you. I can't not read spoilers.
Uh-huh.
And this is too important to me to spoil. So
so you haven't. Okay. I was like, oh, did you find some? I haven't dug in, but now that you have that in my head, I'm like, all right, I gotta pull this up. I believe because Dan Levy liked my tweet.
I know.
Remember that? I believe that we do have a wedding and that we do go forward and that we do get a happily ever after. I don't know if that means that David realizes, no, I'm happy here and I want to stay here. And he does say goodbye to his family and they go on. Or is it Johnny Rose that's like, Moira, we're not going to New York. We're staying here. And so it's only Alexis that moves on, because I do feel there was one moment Alexis says Interflix wants to speak with me.
Yes.
So Alexis already has somebody like interested in her. She's going to do amazing things and she's going to do what she needs to do. So I already kind of figured that that's where her path is going. I will also say I didn't think I would, but I really miss Ted.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too.
I just really thought he was such a sweet character and such a sweet companion to Alexis. And there were some moments in some of the earlier seasons where he was just so loving and beautiful and just, oh. And anyway, I had that thought last night. I was like, oh man, I wish Ted was here for this or would show up for this or whatever. But I'm not holding out any hope that Ted makes a comeback or that there's any reunion or anything like that. Like I'm not, I was satisfied with how they ended things between Ted and Alexis. So I'm good with that. But it was just a thought, that I was just a moment of, I do miss him. And then I was like, look at, Justin Milligan, look how amazing you are. I will always think of you as Ted now and your beautiful performance on this show. Because it's just, all of it's so beautiful. But yeah, so that's where we are. And that's where I guess we pick up next week. We'll be assuming we're going to hear a little bit more details about what their plans are and what they're going to do. I don't know if the wedding is going to be next week or if the wedding is going to be the final finale. Like I could see them doing either. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I'm so torn between being so excited and not ready and all of it.
Well, Dan Levy did give one. He was tweeting along last night, which was also sweet, and I was trying to watch both, which I wasn't able to completely keep up like I wanted to. He said, somebody tweeted out, name a sweeter moment, and took a screenshot of the family when they were standing with all of the signs out front that I mentioned earlier that said, Team Rosebud and everything. And they tweeted out, name a sweeter moment. And Dan Levy said, I can, but it might be in next week's episode.
Yes, I also saw that. And then again, I'm like, my heart. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we have something to look forward to. All right. Well, we will be back next week, of course, and we'll talk some more from the confines of our home offices about Schitt's Creek and what's going on with us. And I don't know. What do you think? Do you think wedding is next week? Do you think wedding is the week after? Or do you think no wedding at all?
I think wedding is in the final. The final. I think that's how we kind of close everything out is, we have a sweet moment at the wedding and then David makes a one-liner and then we hear the tuba and, then we're out. I think next week we're going to just kind of move the story forward to find out what's going to happen with everybody. And then we're just going to enjoy bliss in the last episode.
I think the last episode, I just kind of gave myself goosebumps. And I'm looking at you, Dan Levy. You better not disappoint me. How I think the last episode we are going to finish up, and it's going to mirror. Remember how he's mirroring and he's doing a lot of Easter eggs.
Mm-hmm.
I could see us mirroring season 2, that last scene where they're dancing all together as a family.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
Right? So do you feel it?
Yeah. I do.
I see that. I'm like visualizing it and thinking that would be the perfect way to finish because that's the best. That was the ending of the best season. I mean, that was just the best ending of that season. Yeah. I could see them all dancing, and panning in, not just the family this time, but there's also going to be Patrick right there.
I know.
At his wedding celebration. And then it's going to pan out and we're going to see like the entire Schitt's Creek family that we all, I just have this panning visual and then, but that of them all dancing and just light and love. And that's how we say goodbye by dance of the celebration of all of them together. So I personally hope that's how we wrap this season. That's what I want to see. Don't disappoint me, Dan Levy. If you need to, go ahead and rewrite everything because you got time. He's listening.
Right.
But anyway, I just and I didn't think about that until I posed that question to you, and then it just kind of popped in my head, and I was like, you know what? that would be the perfect way to do it. And I don't think it'd be too crazy because of all of the Easter eggs and throwbacks that he's been doing all along. I could see him kind of giving us that moment.
Yes. Yep. 100%.
So, but we'll see.
100%.
So we'll
Yes.
see. Anywho, all
Yes.
right. Well, we'll be back next week. And thanks for fangirling with us, guys. Bye.
Bye.